ladies and gents, before we get into the show, we've had many requests about T-shirt availability. They are now back in stock, so please head to thebuyround.com or the link in our bio, or find us on Instagram at thebuyround to get your T-shirts today. Hello and welcome everybody to the first edition of Midweek Matters.
We've got a name.
We've got a name. I'm the host, as always, James Graham, joined by the wonderful Charlie White.
How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. I've got to say, I've been impressed with our listeners, with our followers, to come up with the name Midweek Matters. It is a bit of a play on words, and I've got to tip my hat to the great Alan Partridge, who has Mid-Morning Matters. He was a childhood favourite and still is a favourite. A lot of my brain is full with Alan Partridge quotes. I often think about Alan Partridge in many situations.
Yeah, he's worth thinking about. He's a man who's worth spending some time in the brain. And he's one of my favourite follows on Instagram is this little page where they just do clips of different Alan Partridge things. And a lot of the stuff is mid-morning matters. So shout out to the listeners that said midweek matters. There was also a good name that came across in the middle. I liked that one.
I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
We've decided we're going to go with midweek matters.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how bad I am with Partridge. Spent a long time looking for a house.
Yeah.
And every time, and I'm talking every time I went to view one, I'll go, when the episode on Partridge where he's in the superfan's house, but he's trying to pretend to the Irish people, or these two Irish fellas, that it's his house. And he's like, let's go into the lounge. And I'd say this to myself every time. I even dropped a few things like, could swing a cat in here. You know, I could swing a tiger. Wouldn't want to, though. Not unless it had been stunned. And obviously the real estate agents are just going, sure thing, mate.
Yeah, he's good. He's actually got a new special he's done on Amazon that's just come out. Although it's not getting very good reviews.
Partridge or Coogan?
No, Partridge. As Alan Partridge, almost like a stand-up set as Alan Partridge. But it's not going very well based on the reviews that I read.
That's disappointing.
So I've decided not to watch it, so I don't get tainted.
Yes. Well, he bought out a movie as well. It's similar to The Office, isn't it? Where it's like you just got that cult. I'm Alan Partridge, knowing me, knowing you. Mid-morning matters and all that.
Yeah.
It's like
Scissored Isle was a good new one.
Which is that?
Like it was probably like 5 years ago, Scissored Isle, and it's like him doing like a, those like BBC documentaries where they go through and it's like a mockumentary he's done, and it's in Norwich. It's like him walking around Norwich doing there.
I've seen that.
It's very funny. Yeah, it's very funny.
He's one of my all-time favorite characters.
Yeah, that's probably enough time in Alan Partridge.
Yes.
Let's get on with
it. Let's get on. Let's get on with what we're here to be talking about, not comedy reviews.
No.
No.
The NRL have been caught, or an executive from the NRL has been caught taping an RLPA function. Justin Olam was the player who found it, and the person initially, I believe, denied it, and then it was found on her phone, the footage. It just is another sort of page in this bizarre and ongoing sort of messy negotiations that are going on, and it's not a good look for the NRL that this has happened. No,
it's really not, Charlie. And I think what we're seeing a little bit is some PR games being played. This is bad PR for the NRL. But look, I don't understand why someone would go in and try and record it on a phone and that be visible. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. Even if, so let's say, for example, that this executive successfully recorded the conversation, right? If that then gets leaked, well, no prizes for guessing who recorded it.
True. Yeah,
so
good point.
It's not like the room's been bugged or, where NRL and RLPA, they want to be in partnership. So I don't really get why you would want to record it, because you're not going to need a lineup to decide who recorded it. Oh, was it the AFL? No. Is it one of the media agencies? No, because they weren't in the room.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you think that would be a good idea, but
maybe their thinking was if they say something incriminating, the story won't be about who leaked it necessarily. It will more be about what the players have said.
Yeah, that's true, but then still...
But Abdo was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, that partnership that they're trying to broker, we want to grow the game together. Like, I don't know, it's so strange, but look, just... Like, let's get it sorted out. I was reading it today. We keep hearing this potential for strike. Like, hopefully hopefully it won't come to that, but it's still an option. But just get it done now. Like, for me, I'm in a little bit of a state of confusion on, like, if there's no CBA in place and trials are going to start this weekend. What's going on with, like, all insurances? I know.
Well, I think the players still covered by their current contracts. Yeah. So it protects them for that sort of stuff. So the women are in a different boat because also they have the Harvey Norman competition as well. So, which is like the New South Wales Star, but all the big dogs play in that league, obviously. And if they get injured playing in that, but then can't play NRL, there's no protections for that yet because there's no CBA at all. So it feels like the women's stuff needs to get sorted ASAP, like as soon as possible. Just get, but like, what are these people doing? What else has Andrew Abdo got to do? In all honesty, what did him and Clinton Newton have to do right now other than just sit in a room and don't leave this room until it's sorted? In all honesty. Like, everything else probably needs to sit in the back burner for now. You could fix it and get it all sorted in a few hours. Like, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, like, where are you at? Where are we at? Where are
Bit of give and take. Meet in the middle somewhere.
Boom, boom, boom. Look, it's frustrating as a fan, and obviously somebody that's involved in the media covering NRL. Like, it has been one of the main focus points, and it's off the top of the show, isn't it, Charlie? Like, we're talking about it. Obviously there's a new element to this recording, but just hopefully this is a catalyst to, like, right, let's get this done. Yeah. And then we can, move on.
It hurts everyone involved.
It does.
Like, it does.
It does. I really hope that I don't know how long the CBA gets agreed for, 4 or 5 years, that, in 2028 or 2029, we're not having the same conversation.
Well, 2 people that allegedly were trying to hurt each other on... Was it Saturday night in Canberra? I think it was Saturday night. Jack White and
Saturday night / Sunday morning.
So Sunday morning. Latrell Mitchell and Jack Whiten have both been arrested. By the sounds of it, all the eyewitness accounts say that it was just a playful wrestle. I'm sure you've been involved in a few of those in your time, maybe after a few drinks.
Yeah, well, look, anytime you get put in custody, it's not a trifling matter.
No.
So I'm going to take this very seriously, Charlie. I think it's... bit of a storm in a teacup, fart in a hurricane. Like,
almost spilled my coffee out.
I was waiting for you to take a sip. I was trying to time it. Yeah. Look, it obviously is newsworthy that 2 of our game's biggest stars, but yeah. Exactly crime of the century, is it?
No. If all the eyewitness accounts are correct as well. Like, I mean, it's not a good look, I guess, at 3 a.m, people drunk wrestling. But, like, at the end of the day, they, if they were just 2 mates having a wrestle, is that, like, I don't understand how they've even been arrested for that, really.
I'm sure a police officer could explain why, but, I mean, look...
But the police officers have discretion as well. Like, if
I don't know, but I'm sure there's more pressing matters to look. Police do a fantastic job, and look, I hope that these 2 don't get an unfair punishment because of who they are.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we forget about the legal side of it for a second. The NRL goes down a similar route, which what Payne Haas and Albert Kelly got. Remember when Albert Kelly stood in his shoe last year?
Oh, God, yes.
Like, I think Payne Haas. I'll just double check that now, but I think it was 2 games for Payne Haas. I'll just double check that.
Yes, I forgot about that, Charlie. You're right.
Because it's of a similar sort of thing, isn't it? It's 2 teammates, in a disagreement, but also a slightly, playful disagreement. Was that the right word to use? Not really, but...
Oh, yeah.
There we go, Tony. One match suspension. Yeah. That's probably, I reckon, what you'll find that Jack White and Latrell will get.
For round 1, though, or for the trials?
I reckon it will be round 1. That would be my guess. Well, Anthony's made a really good point. It will be after the court case is done. You can't really punish them before the court case came in. And it's not going to be part of the no-fault stand-down policy, obviously.
All right, let's
move on.
Wait and see and move on.
They're both playing in the All Stars game, which is great though, because we had a few people pull out. Joe Manu has had the face fracture for the Kiwi for the Maori team, which is a shame. So it's great that those 2 are playing.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a real celebration. I've been part of the All Stars games on a couple of occasions, and I thoroughly enjoyed the week. The focus on the game itself and who pulls out, but it's not about that. Every time I was there, it's about the week and the difference that it can make, and the education and exposure and visiting people and all that for the Indigenous players and the Māori players as well. It's about that, and obviously being over in New Zealand for the very first time after what they've been through with COVID, and obviously now with some floods in Auckland as well. This should be a real celebration and a real boost for everybody that is involved in New Zealand Rugby League. So let's get behind it. One of the guys there, Big Nelson Asafa Solomona as well. I think he's meeting with the Australian Rugby Union.
Oh wow!
Tell you what, if money's an issue, I'm thinking about this. Money's an issue for Big Nelson. What the Australian Rugby Union should do: go have a whip round to middle forwards playing in the NRL, because I reckon there'd be some contributors for his contract. I'd pay if I was still playing. I'd go, go on, I'll throw $1,000 in, get rid of him. So if they need money, Eddie Jones, ask NRL forwards if they're willing to contribute towards his wage. Some people would not be disappointed to see the back of him, let me tell you that for now.
Even in retirement, just out of the fear factor for you, you'd probably still want to throw in some money.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's great to call. It's great to call. And just go, thankfully I'm not doing that. But, I reckon there'd be a few people more than happy to contribute to Big Nelson's departure to rugby union.
And the great thing about the All Stars game is, it's 2 cultures that just have such a massive impact on rugby league. It's such an entertaining game, and the Indigenous players bring so much to the NRL. The Maori players bring so much passion, intensity, skill. It's so good that this is the first game that gets the attention for the preseason.
Yeah, well, it gets centre stage, doesn't it?
Yeah, because in reality,
stage, and look, you speak to punters. Oh, how good's the footy's back this week? And they're all talking about the All Stars game. So it puts the spotlight on them, their cultures. I was there at the game last year out at Combank Stadium, and wow, what a celebration of 2 cultures, and it was pretty cool to witness. And obviously we won't be there because it's over in NZ, but they get the stage, and it's important. Like saying, the week that comes, everything that comes with it, and this week is really important as well. And
the women's game as well will be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Another real celebration, and they get centre stage.
Yeah. One thing we'll do on this show is we are going to preview a few clubs each week before the season starts. Today we are doing the Roosters, the Titans, and the Sharks. And why don't we start with the Roosters, because they're your premiership favourite. They've lost Takiaho, they've lost Sammy Verrills, they've brought in Brandon Smith, and they've got a couple of decent outside backs they've signed in Corey Allen, Jackson Polo. They're your favourites, so...
Yeah, they are. They've been just decimated by injury, haven't they, over the the past couple of years, and it's been remarkable where they've managed to finish, even with those devastating injuries and some horrible ACLs along the way. I think you quoted something.
Well, I've got the exact number. I wrote it down. 8 ACL injuries in the last 3 years.
Yeah, so
that's insane.
It is. So they're due their luck with health and fitness, and I think on paper that they are the strongest 17. I really like the acquisition of Brandon Smith. I think we're gonna see. I remember speaking to Trent Robinson, and it was after Trbojevic and Tedesco played so well in Origin together. Obviously, Trbojevic in the centre, but basically 2 fullbacks. And he said that might be a bit of a window into the future.
Mm.
So I think it wouldn't surprise me to see the Roosters play a game that just really floods the middle, especially now Brandon Smith's there. He's the type of hooker that can take advantage. He's a real run threat. But then if you've got, those Tedesco's carries, play 4 into 5, Manu, Joseph Salihi all coming in with Brandon, because sometimes, like with all due respect to Verrills, you probably could leave him a touch and then go and focus on them. But if you've got Brandon Smith, you've got to concentrate on that guy. So that's how I think the Roosters are going to play, and I don't know. I don't know if there's an answer to it. It's going to be incredibly difficult to play against. Like I say, they're due their luck with injuries, and I hope they get it, because it'll be fantastic to watch. And that's why they're my favourites for the competition this year.
It's funny because you lose someone like Takiahau and you think, that would be a massive loss for your fullback, but they've still then got Matt Lodge,
Collins,
Maria Hargraves, like 3 of some of the best front rowers.
Radley
in the comp.
coming in there as well.
Crichton on the edge.
like it's
Satili Tupanua on the other edge. Like that's probably the best 4-pack in the comp.
Yeah, and the talent out wide is freakish.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good year for the Roosters. Fingers crossed they stay healthy.
That's it. They've just got to stay. Well, they don't just have to stay healthy, but it's going to be the most important thing.
We'll move on to the Titans then. They finished 13th last year, and a lot of their issues seem to come down to their young spine they had. They brought in Kieran Foran and that man we just spoke about, Sammy Verrills, to bring a bit of experience into their spine. They've lost some players, though, but more just role players like Greg Marju, Asako, Corey Thompson retired, Kevin Proctor's gone over to the Super League, and Jared Wallace gone to the Dolphins. And they brought in some other role players, and Chris Randall, Aaron Shoup, Joe Stimson to go alongside Kieran Foran and Sammy Verrills. How do you see them going this year?
Look, I'm going to react off what they did last year, but then thinking back to what they did the year before, where they're a pass away from making the round 2 or week 2 of the finals. I just don't know if there's quite enough there, and they are a bit of an easy target, that the Titans, for people in our shoes, where we can, they're far away. There's not much expected of them, but I just don't know if there's enough there yet. Verrills and Foran coming in will help with experience and game management, but I don't know if I see enough there when you compare them to other teams in the comp. Like, hey, look, Justin Holbrook's a fantastic coach, but I just don't know if there's enough there. If there's enough genuine quality to deliver consistent performances week in, week out.
Well, they've got some decent players there, like Fafita, Tino Fasul Malawi, AJ Brimson's getting a bit older. They do, Charlie, but just when you stack it up against other teams in the competition, and look, I think that David Fafita's off contract. If he's at his devastating best, like, he can be a one-man band. He could carry them all the way to the playoffs, but it's going to be a huge ask for the Titans to make the 8, I think. And they stuck by Holbrook as well at the end of last year, because it sort of fell apart, and he looked like a man without many answers as well in those press conferences they were another one of those teams that just had that sort of disastrous end to the year. You know, it was a bunch of teams that just sort of put the queue in the rack, and the Titans were one of them, but they've stuck with him.
Yeah, I think they were entitled to stick with him. He did take them to finals the year before, and then losing the half to Canberra, that didn't help. Why can't I think of his name?
Fogarty.
Yep. Yes, like that didn't help. That took away that experience.
Yep.
But look at they've obviously got a lot of potential, but it's just it's potential. I think it'll be a tough year for the Titans.
Towards the bottom of the ladder, then.
Yeah, I think so. Mate.
All right, we'll move on to the Sharks. They finished second last year, but they did get bundled out in straight sets. Nico Hines was the Dally M. They've lost Fafita and Tolman to retirement, and they've also lost some younger players in Luke Metcalf, Lockie Miller, and Franklin Pele. And in terms of gains, there's a lot of young guys who are coming through and moving their top 30, but in terms of recruitment, they brought in Oregon Kaufusi, and that's about it, really.
Good signing, Kaufusi, though. They had they probably were overachieved last year. For most people, I think they would say the Sharks overachieved. But I really like this style of play. Obviously, Nico Hines seemed to thrive off that. I think it really suited him. You watch the Sharks playing that. They're ready to pull the trigger pretty much on every play outside the 20. They always had options, which is really difficult to defend against them when you've got Hines chiming in like he does. He's beautiful to watch. And obviously Moylan, who was, again, we talk about the Roosters, he was healthy for the first time in a long time. I'm really interested now to see how this team learns from their experiences last year. I think finishing second on the ladder and then going loss. Well, how do they learn from that? So, we spoke to Wade Graham, and that. Okay, well, are we sorting out problems in December for next September, or do we have to build to that again? Let's not go away from what we've already done. Let's improve that. But hey, let's not focus. We're all back at the start line again, and that's sometimes you can start thinking too far ahead, and that's it for the Sharks. And Fitzgibbon now, this is his second year in charge. He'll be a lot more comfortable. I'm still thinking the Sharks will be in and around the top 4 with the talent that they've got. The squad that they've got, the depth that they've got. Yeah, they've lost a few experienced blokes, but there's plenty of experience in there, plenty of toughness, plenty of skill, plenty of finish out wide. I think they'll be banging on the door of the top 4 again. And
their draw was a lot softer than last year than a lot of those top 8 teams as well. So that's probably why they ended up finishing second, because they versed a lot more bottom 8 teams than some of the other teams up there. And one massive factor, I reckon, for the Sharks that probably got overlooked a bit last year was Matty Moylan played 24 games. That was only the third time in his year he's played over 24 games in a season. And he had 20-plus try involvements. Yeah. Like, they need him to stay healthy. And, like, fingers crossed that goes well, because in the past, he's not the most reliable guy when it comes to fitness. No, but I think he's, from all accounts, he's really changed his approach on how he needs to get his body right. And, the evidence is there that it worked for him. So he'd be a fool to go away from that. Obviously, with some injuries, it is just pure bad luck and bad genetics. But it seems whatever he was doing last year, it'll be rinse and repeat away from the field for Matty Moylan, and hopefully he can stay healthy. But yeah, I still think the Sharks have enough depth there to challenge for that top 4 and be banging down the door of the top 4. So a chance to be a contender in your eyes then, to win the comp? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially with their experience last year, and Fitzgibbon is such a thorough coach. Yep. And I think he'll be. There'll be different challenges this year, but that first year is difficult, and he managed the top 2. So, the Sharks will be there or thereabouts. All right, well, let's just finish it up then with some questions from the listeners. We put it out in the socials, as we often do, and we've got a bunch of questions that have come through, Jimmy. The first one I'm going to get to here is from ADN23DVS on Instagram. How would you grow the game in the UK to compete with rugby union?
Wow. How would I grow the game in the UK? Look, I think it's not a simple fix. So there's many aspects that they need to look at. It's not just one thing, and that's going to change everything. IMG have just come in. They've got a history of rebranding and elevating sports to get way more exposure. So I think they've done that with darts, and a couple of other sports which I do forget. But I think actually they had some involvement in UFC.
Is IMG the company that, you know, the Eddie Hearn? Is that his dad's company?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, they've become a major stakeholder now. So I think there's got to be support for that. Can't be governed by self-interest, which sometimes the Super League and Rugby Football League do get accused of. But there's a tremendous opportunity in the sport back home off the back of the World Cup, but also off the back of the fact that, you know, a couple of rugby union teams, I think Wasps and somebody else are facing, basically, I think they're going to go bust due to overspending and whatnot, and, you know, not managing that COVID period. So yeah, there's an opportunity there for rugby league to grow, but there's no magic bullet. There's a lot that needs to go into it, and everyone's got an opinion on it back home. And, you know, for me, I think maybe one idea would be, like in England, we get fixated on first past the post. You win the league, it's yours. We've got to have promotion and relegation. We get fixated on that. And I grew up in that culture where, you know, promotion and relegation was exciting, and it gave hope to every club in the land. But I just don't know with rugby league in the country at the moment whether that's a sensible thing to do. I don't know if you've got to just go, not franchises, but maybe like a licensing system, or guarantee, like, hey, these 12, 14, 16 teams, whatever it may be, you're gonna be in the top division. We go from there. Lock it in.
Yeah.
And then that gives clubs, you know, they can forecast to further down the track. A lot of clubs are just in survival mode, and yeah, they go up, they go down. The same sort of players cycle around. I don't know if it's the best model, but I'm sure. I think a lot of people have put a lot of trust in IMG to get them out, and they're doing a complete review, and I imagine there might be a bit of overhaul after that. And I think rugby league fans in England need to get behind it.
All right. Well, Steve Willis wants to know, what's the worst pre-season training drill you ever had, or have you got a cracking pre-season story for us?
Worst pre-season drill,
or even just anything out of your pre-season.
Yeah, there's some awful drills that we had to do.
Desi would have some strange ones, I imagine.
He plucked some awful ones. He actually made us like do this up and down drill, but on a hill. He didn't realise that it was actually easier to get up and down off the ground on the hill. You'd all walk and be like, "Oh God, that's a tough one." That he obviously didn't rerun it, and you know, so you do like a go up, and you're in like little lines or grids. Go up, down on your chest, get up, retreat. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And we do that sometimes on the field, like up 10, whatever. Oh, get on the hill and do it. Because you don't have to actually go down as far. It's easier to get up and down off the ground. So anyone that does conditioning on the hill, it's not that bad, and actually sometimes easier. Good preseason story. Oh,
You would never been involved in fat camp or anything like that, were you? I can't imagine.
No. I was on the borderline-ish, but no, never came back with too bad a skin folds. Actually, as Francis Melly used to play an absolute blinder, and it links into a little bit of what's going on with John Bateman at the moment. Francis Melly would return to New Zealand, he'd return to New Zealand, and he'd always play the I can't get my visa's not come through card. I'm training. I'm doing some training with the Warriors. I'm like, Franny, come on, mate. And he'd probably rock up about 10 days before round 1. Oh, you're back. Your visa finally came through. Eh?
In shape?
Lucky Franny was just a player that he didn't need to be in shape. he just played. He wasn't there for his fitness. He wasn't there to train. He was there to play. And he come back, missed the trials. Coach had probably give him a bit of a, put him through his paces for a couple of sessions and just back him in for round 1. And I think one game he'd had like 5 training sessions to get man of the match in round 1. So
wow.
That was Francis Melly for you. And I've actually been messaging John Bateman, and mate, you can't kid a kidder.
No.
I know he's got his visa, but he's just not telling the time.
And now injury things are popping up as well.
Oh, really?
Like he seems like he's got a fair few excuses.
Yeah. I've said, Batty, mate, oldest trick in the book to get out of a pre-season. Yeah. Well, sorry, not the oldest trick in the book, but the old can't get me visa. I reckon Batty's gone like that on the form, like, please don't let the signature go out of this box. You've got to keep, for some strange reason, you've got to have the signature in a box sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're doing official forms. I reckon he's done a big John Bateman signature. So they've had to send it back. Sorry, Sheensy. You'll never guess what. I've messed up. I'm going to have to resubmit that form.
As if the clubs don't sort it out for them themselves.
No, you're not allowed. You've got to do it yourself.
Got to do it yourself.
Yeah, you've got to sign it all and stuff.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So
we'll see him soon. It's funny, on social media now, Tigers fans are actually getting a bit nervous. You see like the comments on some of the Facebook stuff, and they're not even sure he's going to come. They're worried because they've been burnt before the Tigers.
Yeah.
And they're nervous. They're not going to believe that he's in until he actually flies over and they see him in a Tigers uniform.
Yeah, he's committed to coming, but I'm actually really excited for him. But that's probably the best preseason sort of stories I've got. Some of those trips away were, they could be fun, but then some of those drills that we used to do, they were long. Like, especially for me coming over here, Charlie, in the heat.
Would you rather train in the heat, though, or in the cold, miserable rain in England?
Charlie, that's just like one of those questions you can't answer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
apples and oranges.
Well, would you rather me shoot you to death or stab you to death?
I'll take shoot, I reckon. It's quicker. Right. Just bang. You might shoot me in the head, whereas it stab. I mean, you could stab me in the throat, though, as well, and I'm probably going pretty quick.
Yeah. It's one of those questions where it's like there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's a stupid question.
Fair enough. It's a good way of finishing, I reckon.
Yeah, that is. Well, it's been... Oh, actually, before we go, you owe an apology to Latrell Mitchell and Jack Whiten.
What for?
Because on last week's show,
I said it's been a quiet off season. Yeah,
and I told you not to.
Yeah, I did say. Yeah, I know. But I'm sorry, boys. I am sorry about that. At the time, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I regretted it. I'll aim to be better than that, and I'll try my best to make sure nothing like this happens again.
Yeah.
I've actually been having some other stuff going on behind the scenes, so I wasn't really thinking as clearly when it came out. And if I had my time over, I wouldn't say it again.
That's important. Maybe they'll play this in court.
Yeah.
Don't blame the lads, blame Charlie White.
Yeah. And I'll accept full punishment. I'll happily go to jail for them, just so they can play for the Rabbitohs and the Raiders this year.
Good on you, Charlie. All right, well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next week on Midweek Matters.